Tonight on Gravitas, we tell you why and how Pakistan's Islamic NATO fantasy has suffered a major setback, not by external factors, but by its own decisions. A series of explosions reportedly tore through Kabul last night. The Taliban administration confirmed that there was, in fact, the investigations were underway while stating that there were no casualties. Reports suggesting a targeted airstrike may have been aimed at the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan chief, Noor Wali Mahsood. The explosions also coincided with the arrival of the Afghan foreign minister in India for a 6-day visit. The first such trip since the Taliban's return to power. And curiously enough, Pakistan has till now not admitted to strikes. But the statements made by the Pakistan defense minister presenting a rather interesting coincidence. Just hours before the Kabul blasts, Asif, while addressing the National Assembly, had warned Afghanistan that Islamabad's patience was quote-unquote running out. Not just that, Asif also issued an enough is enough warning for Afghanistan and called cross-border terrorism intolerable and vowed to hunt down militants wherever they are. Just within hours of that happening, reports of explosions in Kabul started surfacing. And just a few hours ago, Pakistan's top military spokesman has said that the country will continue to do whatever is necessary to safeguard the lives and the property of its people. Listen to this first.
At the same time, to safeguard the lives and property of the people of Pakistan and to protect the country's territorial integrity, we are doing and will continue to do whatever is necessary. There should be no doubt about this.
If Pakistan did carry out this strike, it has not only crossed a red line with the Taliban, but also demolished its own dream of forming what its leaders have described as an Eastern Islamic NATO. And just last week, Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister, remember, claimed that several nations were eager to join a Saudi-Pakistan defense pact that could evolve into a NATO-like alliance. And that fantasy now lies in ruins. Instead of uniting the Muslim world under its military leadership, Sunni-dominated Pakistan, on the face, pretends to be brothers with Sunni-dominated Afghanistan, but keeps hurting or exploiting it. And this is not new. Pakistan split apart in 1971, remember, after alienating its own eastern population. The strikes on Kabul marking what could perhaps be described as the second disintegration of Pakistan. A political, diplomatic, and ideological collapse unfolding. Over recent months, cross-border clashes between Pakistan and Afghanistan have intensified, and Pakistan has also bombed Shia-dominated Iran just last year. Its non-state actors keep perpetrating attacks, so much so that Iran has a wall built for some safety from the Pakistan terror infiltrators. Pakistan now finding itself at war on multiple fronts with its neighbors, with its ethnic minorities, and increasingly with itself. From Lahore to Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, the country is seeing protests against the Pakistan establishment. Just yesterday, protesters clashed in Islamabad with the police following calls for a protest by the Islamist group, Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan. While late last month and earlier this month, Pakistan-occupied Kashmir was in a state of intense unrest. And there is history to Pakistan's treatment with different sects and communities. Abdul Ghaffar Khan, known widely as the Frontier Gandhi for his non-violent resistance against British rule in India, on multiple occasions was arrested and put under house arrest by Pakistan leaders post-partition. Islamabad once jailed Ghaffar Khan for opposing the one-unit scheme that merged all western provinces to dilute East Pakistan's power. One of the many factors that ultimately led to the birth of Bangladesh, and the pattern continued under every regime. Under Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, in fact, Pakistan's army launched a massive military operation in Balochistan. Entire villages were bombed from the air, thousands were displaced, and then came General Zia-ul Haq, whose dictatorship from 1977 to 1988 turned Sindh into a virtual war zone. And 5 decades later, the same militarized playbook continues. And now, with the Kabul bombings, Pakistan's cycle of internal and external conflict has reached a dangerous peak. The dream of an Islamic NATO lies shattered, not because of foreign enemies, but because Islamabad has once again turned its guns on those it calls allies. Pakistan's greatest enemy, it seems, is no longer across its borders, it is within. The United States is aiming to increase its presence in the Arctic, directly challenging Moscow and Beijing. US President Donald Trump has signed an agreement with the Finnish president to expand America's fleet of icebreakers. Icebreakers are basically specialized vessels designed to cut through ice-covered waters, ensuring safe navigation for other ships. Under the New Deal, the US Coast Guard will acquire up to 11 cutting-edge icebreakers to strengthen national security in the Arctic. Finland will construct the first 4 ships, while the United States will use Finnish expertise to build 7 more domestically. Finland, remember, is the world's leading producer of icebreakers, with about 80% of the existing ships designed by its companies and about 60% of them built at its shipyards. The total cost of the 11 icebreakers is estimated to be around $6.1 billion. The first ship is expected to sail by 2028, marking the beginning of a new era in America's Arctic strategy. Right now, America operates just 3 icebreakers, a modest fleet as compared to Russia's extensive and even nuclear-powered icebreakers patrolling the polar region. The Finland president highlighted the importance of the agreement, noting that control over the Arctic means control over some of the world's most valuable and contested resources. And beyond shipbuilding, Trump reaffirmed Washington's commitment to defending Finland under NATO if Russia ever launched an attack.
Putin attacks Finland. Would you defend Finland?
I would, yes, I would. They're a member of NATO. I would. They're great people, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to do that. I think the chances of that are very, very small.
For years now, experts have warned that the Arctic is fast becoming the new frontier of great power competition. The Arctic region covering nearly 1/6 of the Earth's landmass. And the region is estimated to hold nearly 20% of the world's undiscovered oil and gas reserves, making it one of the most resource-rich and politically sensitive areas on the planet. Russia already dominates the region with more than 40 icebreakers and a growing military footprint. And despite lying more than 1,400 kilometers away, China calls itself a near-Arctic state, pursuing what it calls a polar Silk Route to gain economic and strategic influence in the far north. And with this agreement, Washington is not just buying ships, it is sending out a clear signal. The United States intends to stay competitive in the ever-evolving global Arctic race. Our next story sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it's not. Imagine picking up frozen shrimp from your local store only to find out that it's contaminated with radioactive material. We are talking about radioactive shrimp. That is what has sparked an international food safety scare, leading to emergency evacuations, a sweeping investigation, and a full-blown nuclear decontamination effort in Indonesia. Let's break this down for you. The alarm was first raised in the United States. The FDA, while inspecting a batch of shrimp imported from Jakarta, discovered traces of a dangerous radioactive isotope, most commonly associated with nuclear accidents like Chernobyl and Fukushima. In fact, the shrimp came from Indonesian seafood exporter. And while the US authorities say the contamination level was not immediately dangerous, they were not taking any chances. The product was pulled from the shelves with major retailers issuing a nationwide recall across at least 12 states. But the real shock came in when the Indonesian authorities started investigating the source of that radiation. And what they found was disturbing, to say the least. At least 22 production facilities, all located in a major industrial zone on the outskirts of Jakarta, were found to be contaminated with that isotope. It includes food processing plants. Some of them export directly to global markets. The Indonesian government quickly swung into crisis mode. A national task force was formed. Emergency decontamination is now underway across the industrial zone. Residents living nearby are being evacuated. And health screenings have already found 9 people exposed to radioactive materials. And they were sent to the hospital immediately. For a country with no nuclear power plants, no nuclear weapons, and no domestic source of that isotope, this incident raises serious questions. Where did that radiation come from? How long has it been in the food supply chain? And could more contaminated products be out there? The idea of radioactive shrimp on your dinner plate may sound extreme, but this is a wake-up call. For now, both US and Indonesian officials insisting there is no cause for public panic. But in a globalized world where contamination can travel fast, the stakes are higher than ever. In this day and age, our lives end up revolving around our digital devices, technology, gadgets. There is no running away from this. But there are ways to navigate this. And one unique way being explored extensively in Japan is abacuses. They are making a comeback. Also to help children in this digital age. But how exactly? Well, because they can help with arithmetic skills. It might seem like something which is obsolete, but its positive effects are immense. And parents want their children to use an abacus because of the same. In case you are unaware, simply put, they are calculating tools. You can also call them old school calculators. They arrived in Japan in the 14th century via China and Korea and have been used to teach mathematics in schools for more than 5 centuries. It's not just about moving those beads up and down. These tools are extremely helpful in many ways when it comes to learning, when it comes to concentration. Basically, according to experts, they support analog learning and fundamental cognitive skills, and that's a huge plus. Known as Soroban there, the standard Japanese version comes with 23 columns of 5 beads, with 4 lower beads having a value of 1 and a single upper bead having a value of 5, basically. And counting and calculating happens by sliding those beads up and down the columns. In fact, Soroban became mandatory in elementary schools. This was in the year 1935. Why? Because of the belief that they help with cognitive skills and also manual dexterity when you end up using them. And the number of specialized Soroban schools have flourished. But then they also saw a decline thanks to electronic calculators and then phones. But now they are making a comeback, and the industry has also witnessed a lot of growth. As per the Gaken Educational Research Institute, 8% of elementary school students were learning abacus in 2024. In fact, an abacus school in Tokyo had 60 students when it was set up or it was opened last year, and now that number has gone up to 120 reportedly. Given the many benefits that abacuses come with, should other parts of the world also follow suit? That's some food for thought this Friday. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.